no, I just seen a ghost and now I must self-delete. They called this the best thriller movie of 2018/2019. And we thought 2020 was the worst thing that happened in the last decade. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to a Psychotic review of the Netflix movie, Bird Box. As always, guys, I will run through the story, the cast, and my initial thoughts of the movie. And if you enjoy this review, be sure to leave a like and hit that subscribe button. So let's get into it. First off, we're going to start up with the story. Bird Box is set in a post-apocalyptic world where an entity has randomly appeared in the world, and I say entity because we never see the fucking thing. And well, that's what the internet calls it apparently. Upon looking at this entity, people become psychotic and begin to self-delete violently, well, at least in the beginning of the movie at least, but we will get to that. So, we follow the story of Mallory Hayes, played by Sandra Bullock, and her two kids, boy and girl. Yes, that's their names, on an epic journey to find sanctuary from the entity. The movie jumps back and forth between their journey to the sanctuary and the events of what happened 5 years prior when the entity first arrived. We're introduced to Mallory while she lives alone and is currently pregnant with boy, when her sister tells her, hey, check out the news, people in Russia are going crazy and self-deleting. As most would, in this situation, Mallory claims it is in another country and simply ignores it, until they're leaving their doctor's office after a neonatal appointment and people start to act crazy. One woman randomly starts smashing her head on a window, people begin to freak out. All of a sudden, the entity is now in the States and affecting everyone with no solid reasoning at all other than, yeah, this is happening. We see Mallory's sister, now driving away frantically, stare off into the distance and begin to swerve the car in an attempt to crash and kill them both. After the car flips over and Mallory and Jessica emerge from the wreckage, we see Jessica step back into an oncoming truck and immediately the tone for the movie is set. Or so we think, as this is only one of the extreme moments the movie is willing to reveal, including one other scene where a woman climbs into a burning car. Like, that's it. Every other scene in the movie cuts away or tries to hide so much of the violence as if people won't be able to handle the subject matter that the movie is based on or tries to take on. It's almost like the writer realized the world is full of snowflakes and people will be offended by the direction the movie was going to take. The story is a mess, to say the least. With the jumping between the present day and the past, we are left to piece together what is happening and follow the footsteps of 8 survivors and their attempts to stay alive and figure out what's happening. Now, you're probably mad at me at this point and jump to the comment section to tell me, no, you're wrong, but before you do, hear me out. There is complete and utter chaos outside, people going crazy and self-deleting, but yet once inside, everyone is all of a sudden safe and the entity can't get to them for some unknown reason, unless you happen to look outside, as we see with one character looking at the supposed entity through CCTV and causing him to crack his skull open on a brick ledge. Also, somehow, only fucking birds can tell when the entity is near and are unaffected by the entity, but go batshit crazy seemingly to warn people that, hey guys, there's a bad thing, no one can see, like totally coming to get you. Even though every time the entity is near, the wind howls, the leaves do some swirly dance if the entity is basically fucking ghost dancing around and announcing its presence every single time. This did leave me to wonder why the hell they didn't just be like, oh, everything's calm, we can look around, and when the warning signs appear, then put on your blindfold. I don't know. And finally, we find out that there are crazies who seem to be unaffected by the entity, and they want people to, and I quote, see the entity. Now, I ask you, dear viewer, where the hell is the logic to this at all? Does the entity just go, oh, I like you, you get to live and spread the good word, or some shit like that? How does it choose? Why does it choose? Did it send them crazy? And what the hell is with the eyes? So many questions. So many questions left unanswered. And normally, guys, a good thriller will reveal its plot at the end, but this one, it just seemed to spoil it straight from the beginning. Like, at the beginning, we saw Mallory and the kids, so we know they survived for 5 years, but they're alone. So that immediately tells us everyone else is gonna die. So yeah, cheers for fucking spoiling the whole movie in the first 5 seconds. Oh, and what the hell happened to Lucy and Felix after they stole the car? Sorry, we don't have any money in the budget for a sports model Jeep or to pay you. So yeah, just take the car as payment for the movie and bugger off, is how I personally think that one went. Next up to the cast. First off, we have our main star, Mallory Hayes, played by the one and only Sandra Bullock. As always, Bullock puts on an incredible performance, with each scene being so believable and that you actually felt the anxiety that the character was feeling. That sense of helplessness and despair during the present day scenes and the panic and fear during the past recap scenes. The only time I did not enjoy Bullock's performance was when she would be communicating with boy and girl, her children, as I felt she was being far too extreme, even given the dire circumstances they were in. It seemed that Bullock felt horrible and uncomfortable even acting out the scenes, but still gave an amazing and believable performance whilst having to shout at these defenseless kids. Next we move on to Trevent Rhodes. I probably got that name very wrong, but he played Tom, the boyfriend of Mallory, or at least at one point he was. Without spoiling too much, Rhodes' performance was okay. It felt like every time he was on screen with Bullock, he would start to overact and try too hard, and it showed a lot. But all in all, a decent performance that was semi-believable, but just not enough to make me care for Tom at all. And when he met his end, I was just, oh, okay, so that's why Tom wasn't there in the end. Cool. Then there is John Malkovich, who I really couldn't get to grips with. At times, I felt for the guy. Other times, I didn't really care about his character, Douglas, at all. I think this is more to do with the bad writing than anything else, as in each scene he was in, the character would be angry and upset, or happy and a little off. But with that said, for me, he was the most relatable character in the movie. As with the supermarket scene when he cracks open the bottle of booze and declares, hey, we should all just stay here, screw the rest of them. I almost felt like the world is over. He has a point. But Mallory pulls us back into reality, and we realize, yeah, maybe not, especially with a madman banging on the door begging to be let in. That scene really freaked me out, I'm not gonna lie. There's just something about home invasion that it just adds to that fear aspect. Pretty well done scene. Up until we see his end, Douglas was a rather miserable character, which Malkovich played very well, and brought that he could snap at any time edginess that the movie desperately needed. Finally, we get to Tom Hollander's performance as Gary, the seeable big bad. And now, to me, his performance was extremely underwhelming. Brought into the house as a survivor, he quickly turns on the rest, forcing them to see the entity, and kills only 3 of the survivors very quickly. This happened so fast, and before we knew it, it's over as Tom puts a stop to him in the kitchen. I personally feel that this needed more time to be built up and could have done a lot better. Maybe if he snuck around the house a little bit, tried to pick them off, one by one, I'd have more enjoyed the character more. Or even if he just gave us more insights into the entity itself and what it was doing, how it chose him. But no, it's just a quick, hi, I'm nuts, look outside, yay, the entity is pretty, I'm mad, that's it. Oh, and he hated birds, it seems, as at one time he tried to put the birds in the fridge, and yes, I know it's because they would warn the others about the entity, but here's a flaw free of charge. When he picked up the birds and showed off to Douglas, who was then at that point locked in the garage, the birds didn't make a peep. And so yeah, good job there, writers. But of course, guys, here's my overall thoughts on the movie. This is an awful movie that made absolutely no logical sense as to why anything was happening at all. I felt we were just shoved into the moment and told, right, bad things makes you self-delete and you can't look at it. Okay, cool. Why? Because that's why. Yes, it did have some intense moments, and the direction I thought was very good, but the writing I just feel made no sense at all. The characters were boring and didn't have anywhere near enough screen time or decent dialogue to make me give a damn about them, and the story just jumped way too quickly for a movie that is over 2 hours long. I'm glad it took me over 2 years to even bother watching this movie. And to those who say it's about society and the way we use social media, I've literally seen that in reviews everywhere. Bollocks to that. If you were in this situation, it would be you v them. And you will protect your own. Screw everyone else. Don't even try and tell me different. And I've seen people say it's how we use social media. Where in the hell does this movie mention social media even once? Immediately at the start of the movie, they say, oh, their phone lines are down, so the internet is down. Yeah, so nice try that. But I don't know, guys. Maybe I missed the point of this movie entirely. But if you want to change my mind, feel free to do so in the comments below. Just be respectful and start a debate, not an argument. But with that said, guys, thanks for listening, and as always, stay crazy, stay psychotic, and as always, keep birds in a box by your bed because you never know when the entity is near. I'll speak to you guys in the next one.